Cravens. Today we're diving into the dark and twisted world of horror movie sequels. These are the sequels that took risks, broke the mold, and proved that sometimes the second or third or fourth time's the charm. So grab your popcorn, dim the lights, and get ready for a wild ride through the often overlooked world of awesome horror sequels. Let's get started. First up, we're taking a trip to medieval times with Army of Darkness, the third installment in the Evil Dead franchise. This time around, director Sam Raimi cranks up the comedy, throwing our chainsaw-handed hero Ash into a world of deadites, slapstick humor, and one unforgettable Book of the Dead. Army of Darkness isn't afraid to poke fun at itself, delivering iconic one-liners and over-the-top action sequences that'll have you laughing 1 minute and screaming the next. It's a wild, wacky, and endlessly entertaining ride that proves horror and comedy can be a match made in, well, you know. Bruce Campbell's performance as Ash is legendary, full of swaggering bravado and hilarious one-liners. And let's not forget the stop-motion animation effects, which might seem a little dated now but add to the movie's cheesy charm. Army of Darkness is a testament to the fact that sequels can break the mold and offer something completely different while still staying true to the spirit of the original. It's a horror comedy classic that deserves a spot on every horror fan's watch list. After the misguided detour of Halloween the Third Season of the Witch, this franchise needed a return to form. Enter Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This sequel wisely brings back the masked menace Michael Myers for another round of terrifying trick-or-treating. This time, Michael sets his sights on his niece, Jamie Lloyd, and Haddonfield has never felt less safe. Halloween 4 succeeds by stripping away the convoluted mythology of its predecessor and returning to the simple, effective scares of the original. We're talking about suspenseful stalking scenes, atmospheric dread, and of course Michael Myers' iconic mask and unrelenting presence. Donald Pleasance returns as Dr. Loomis, and his desperate attempts to stop Michael add another layer of tension to the proceedings. It's a masterclass in suspense, slowly ratcheting up the tension until the bloody climax. This sequel is a reminder that sometimes the simplest stories are the most effective, especially when it comes to horror. Okay, let's be honest. By the time Bride of Chucky rolled around, the Child's Play franchise was starting to show its age. But then something magical happened. The filmmakers decided to embrace the absurdity of it all, injecting a healthy dose of dark humor and self-awareness into the mix. The result? One of the most entertaining entries in the entire franchise. Bride of Chucky introduces us to Tiffany, a doll who also happens to be the former lover of serial killer Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky. When Tiffany brings Chucky back to life, all hell breaks loose, and we're treated to a hilarious and gory road trip filled with killer dolls, unsuspecting victims, and a surprising amount of heart. Bride of Chucky is a reminder that even long-running horror franchises can find new life with a fresh perspective and a healthy dose of self-awareness. Chapter 4, Scream 4, New Decade, New Rules, Same Ghostface. A decade after the events of Scream 3, Ghostface returns to terrorize a new generation of Woodsboro teenagers. Scream 4 is a meta-slasher for the social media age, tackling themes of online celebrity, the insatiable thirst for fame, and the dangers of constantly comparing yourself to others. The new cast of characters is engaging, the kills are as inventive as ever, and the meta-commentary on horror movies and remakes is sharp and witty. Scream 4 proves that even after all these years, Ghostface still has what it takes to keep us on the edge of our seats. It's a clever, self-aware, and surprisingly scary sequel that reminds us why we fell in love with the Scream franchise in the first place. Chapter 5. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Behind the Mask of a Monster. Prequels can be a tricky business, especially when it comes to iconic horror villains. But Leatherface, a prequel to Tobe Hooper's 1974 classic, manages to offer a compelling and disturbing look into the origins of one of horror's most recognizable monsters. The film follows a young Jed Sawyer, who will eventually become the chainsaw-wielding Leatherface as he escapes from a mental institution with a group of equally unhinged individuals. What follows is a brutal and nihilistic journey through the underbelly of Texas, where Jed's descent into madness is both terrifying and tragic. Leatherface isn't for the faint of heart. It's a bleak and unflinching look at the making of a monster, and it features some of the most unsettling violence in the entire franchise. This prequel isn't interested in providing easy answers or redeeming its titular character. Instead, it forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes evil is born, not made. Chapter 6, Fright Night, Part 2. The vampire saga continues. Fright Night Part 2 picks up a few years after the original, with Charlie Brewster trying to move on from the traumatic events of the first film. But when a new vampire, Regine Dandridge, played with seductive menace by Julie Carmen, moves in next door, Charlie finds himself pulled back into the world of the undead. This sequel doesn't shy away from the gothic horror elements that made the original so much fun. Regine is a charismatic and dangerous villain, and her vampire cohorts are a memorable bunch. Fright Night Part 2 is a worthy successor to the original, delivering a fresh take on the vampire mythos while still capturing the same blend of horror and humor that made the first film such a cult classic. Chapter 7, Hellraiser 3. Hell on Earth takes the franchise in a bold new direction, unleashing Pinhead and the Cenobites on an unsuspecting world. This time around, Pinhead finds himself trapped in a statue, separated from his demonic brethren. When a sleazy nightclub owner stumbles upon the statue, he unwittingly unleashes Pinhead's full power upon the Earth. This sequel is a full-blown gore fest, featuring some of the most gruesome and inventive kills in the entire franchise. Pinhead takes center stage as the main antagonist, and his chilling pronouncements and sadistic sense of humor make him a truly unforgettable horror icon. Hellraiser 3. Hell on Earth might not be subtle, but it's a wild and entertaining ride through the depths of hell. It's a must-see for fans of the franchise and anyone who appreciates their horror with a side of over-the-top gore. Chapter 8. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Freddy's back in the real world. Wes Craven's New Nightmare is a meta-horror masterpiece that completely reinvigorated the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. This time, Freddy Krueger is no longer content to terrorize teenagers in their dreams. He's crossed over into the real world, stalking the actors and crew who made him famous. This sequel is a love letter to the horror genre, deconstructing the tropes and cliches while delivering genuine scares. The film plays with our expectations, blurring the lines between reality and fiction. Wes Craven's New Nightmare is a smart, self-aware, and genuinely scary film that proves that even the most tired horror franchises can be revitalized with a fresh perspective and a willingness to take risks. Chapter 9. Dr. Sleep, The Legacy of The Shining Endures. Adapting Stephen King is no easy feat, especially when it comes to a sequel to a film as iconic as The Shining. But Dr. Sleep manages to capture the essence of King's novel while also standing on its own as a powerful and unsettling horror film. The film follows an adult Danny Torrance, still traumatized by the events at the Overlook Hotel, as he confronts a new threat, a cult that feeds on the shine of others. Ewan McGregor delivers a powerhouse performance as Danny, a man grappling with his past demons while trying to protect a young girl with a similar gift. Dr. Sleep is a worthy successor to The Shining, exploring themes of trauma, addiction, and the power of the human spirit. It's a visually stunning and emotionally resonant film that will stay with you long after the credits roll. Chapter 10. Friday the 13th. Part 5. A New Beginning. The legacy of Jason lives on. Okay, I know, Friday the 13th. A New Beginning is infamous for its twist ending. But hear me out, because beneath the surface of this often maligned sequel lies a surprisingly effective and brutal slasher film. The film follows Tommy Jarvis, the young boy who killed Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, as he struggles to cope with his past trauma. When a series of gruesome murders plagues the halfway house where Tommy resides, it seems that Jason might be back for revenge. Or is he? No spoilers here. What makes A New Beginning work is its relentless pace and brutal kills. This is one of the goriest entries in the entire franchise, and it features some truly memorable death scenes. Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning might not be a perfect film, but it's a worthy addition to the franchise, offering a fresh take on the Jason Voorhees mythos and delivering the blood and guts that fans have come to expect. Outro, stay spooky and keep watching those sequels. There you have it, folks. 10 underrated horror sequels that deserve a second look, or maybe even a first. These films prove that sequels can be more than just cheap cash grabs. They can expand on the mythology of the original, introduce new and terrifying villains, and even revitalize a tired franchise. So, the next time you're looking for a good scare, don't dismiss the sequels. Let us know in the comments which one is your favorite or if we missed any hidden gems. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more horror content. Stay spooky.
Come with me, you will see a world full of bullets and disintegration.